It's a great pleasure to welcome Rudy Gunn to this podcast. He is a country musician from Ontario, Canada. How are you today, Rudy? Thank you for joining us.
I- I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, my friend.
All right, so let's begin with talking about your latest single. It's titled Queen of the Barstool Rodeo. It's a fantastic
Yeah,
song. Yeah.
that's actually the first single that I released as a solo artist. I was playing with a couple different bands prior to that. I had a band called One Way Street,
Mhm.
another band called Grand River County, and I decided to go solo. Queen of the Barstool Rodeo is kind of a fun song, and we found that the last couple of years with everything that's been happening in the world with the pandemic and everything like that, a lot of the music on the radio has been slow, kind of depressing, and very low tempo. What we wanted to do was essentially create a song that was upbeat, easy to sing along to, easy to two step to, easy to dance to, even easy to line dance to, right? So we came up with Queen of the Barstool Rodeo. The song was actually written by two gentlemen in the United States. George Smith and Kevin Reardon wrote it. They wrote it a few years ago, but they never really had a bigger artist record it. So they said, hey, why don't you record this song and try to bring it to life, push it to radio and all that good stuff. And what the song is about, it sounds kind of funny, Queen of the Barstool Rodeo. What it means is it's based on a waitress or a bartender in your local bar in the saloon, and then a couple cowboys walk in and they try to win her heart. They try to steal her heart. They're trying to rope her in, so to speak, in rodeo terms. And what they don't know is that even though they're trying really hard to get her attention, they don't know she's actually dating the singer. So it's kind of a fun spin
Mm.
on on that song in the end to just have a little bit of fun there, right? It's like they don't know she's coming home with me. She's my queen of the Barstool Rodeo. So a rodeo, of course, is a competition between cowboys where they show their skill set. There's roping, there is bulldogging, which is essentially steer wrestling. There's of course bull riding. There's saddle bronc. There's all kinds of different things that cowboys do to compete to show their skill set and show how good they are. So instead of just a regular rodeo, this is like a competition between these cowboys to see who can steal her heart. So we thought we'd just have a little fun and release a good banger and an upbeat song in a time where there's not many upbeat songs out on the radio.
Mhm. Wonderful. Yeah, I listened to the song. It's amazing. Everyone should listen to it.
Yeah, you can find it on Spotify, Apple Music. It's on all streaming platforms, so it's pretty easy to find. There's also lyric video on YouTube if people want to check that out as well.
Course. All right. So, these two gentlemen who wrote the song, so you said they're from the US. Are they from Nashville in particular?
We're affiliated with Nashville, so one of the guys is from Greenwich, Connecticut. But yeah, we're all affiliated with Nashville. My producer out there, Stacy Hogan, he's produced a lot of big artists from country to rock bands, even some of the legends that have performed in the Grand Ole Opry. Very very cool, man. We're all connected in some way, shape, or form. My vocals were actually recorded in Ontario, Canada, in my home studio that we're sitting in right now. We've got a full studio here, actually, of a vocal booth. Everything is ready to go here. And then we've got a little bit of a camera set up here for interviews and podcasts. But yeah, the vocals were done here. Everything was mixed in Nashville. All my musicians are all in Nashville. They're all studio musicians that play on the record.
Awesome. So, just a point of curiosity, have you been on other podcasts before this one?
Yeah, I've been on lots of different types of podcasts. Usually, a lot of times I go on podcasts about mindset and business and
Hmm.
perseverance and following your dreams and that type of stuff. I came from a background as a CEO and entrepreneur, multi serial entrepreneur, and I decided to take all my energy and focus on music. I've been doing music since I was 5 years old, so I've been doing that for 32 years now. I'm 37,
Mhm.
and I just decided to go all in on music now and you know follow something that I'm passionate about. When you're working in corporate Canada or corporate America, it's easy for a boss or an owner or whatever to tell you, "Hey, this is when you jump on a plane, this is when you travel, this is what you got to do." Now I get to do my own thing. I get to pick, which shows I want to play, where I want to tour. My booking agent, they'll say, "Hey, we have an offer for you to play a bunch of shows out here," and then it's up to me if I want to add them to my tour or not. It's still my final say. Which I like a lot better than being 100% controlled in what you're doing next. So
Hmm. So be your own boss.
be your own boss to
Mhm.
an extent, right?
So speaking of which, you open a country bar at Wealth. I'm guessing that's your hometown of Ontario. So how's that
Um,
come
it's
about?
about it's about 35 minutes from where I live. We opened a bar called Cowboys. Cowboys. I'm a managing partner there. I run the whole facility, and what we're doing is we're actually bringing a lot of touring acts in that are coming from Nashville that are traveling through. We're
Hmm.
putting them in our facility. So it's an old movie theater. It used to be a two-screen movie theater. The wall got knocked out the middle. Now it's the width of two movie theaters, essentially a giant concert stage. We spend a couple hundred grand on sound, a couple hundred grand on lighting. Um, it's a full concert when you walk in. We have big bands playing in there. We just had a couple rock bands playing in there last week during the week, and then on the weekends we open it as a country bar, a country venue where we have upcoming artists, touring artists all coming through there to play. So very very cool venue, massive dance floor. Capacity is about 1,300 people. So very very cool cool place to work and a cool place to manage. But the nice thing is it's all tied in with the people that I work with on a day to day basis. My Canadian producer is actually there as a sound guy when he's not on tour. He tours with an artist named Jason Blaine. He's his drummer, and that producer that I work with, his name is Sean Moore. He actually studied at Blackbird Studios in Nashville as well. So again, we're all connected in some way, shape, or form, and now we're working together on the day-to-day basis to build this really, really cool country music venue for artists to play at.
Hmm. Yeah, I love to stop by when I have the chance to whenever I'm in town. Tell us about the name of the place again.
It's called Cowboys, so
Hmm.
Cowboys in Guelph, Ontario.
All
It is
right.
an old concert theater, essentially. It's a big concert hall that we turn into a country music venue.
Okay. So I'll make
Yeah,
sure to link it in the show notes when this is published.
we will, 100%,
So tell me
for
about
sure.
some of the acts that perform at the bar.
At Cowboys. So this week we had a Canadian country recording artist named Adam Cousins. Next week we've got Scott Howarth band. We've had Mackenzie Lee Meyer. She's back and forth to Nashville as well. We have a lot of different touring acts that come through there, and even last week we had a band during the week that played there, not on the weekend. That wasn't country. That was a rock band. We had I Mother Earth and Tea Party play there about a week ago. So sold out show. We've had Buck Cherry play in that venue. We've had so many different bands come through, touring acts that play at that venue. During the week, we'll do any open format, and then on the weekends, we open it as a country venue.
Hmm. Tell me about how country music became a part of your life.
I grew up with it actually. So I grew up in the Netherlands.
Hmm?
My mother was a country singer in the Netherlands,
Oh,
and
okay.
she kind of played all the European shows, Holland, Germany, Belgium, that type of stuff. A lot of festivals, and ever since I was a little kid, I was just kind of backstage with her and just hanging out backstage. Whether I was awake or sleeping, I could sleep through anything. Just kind of became ingrained in me. And then when I was about 5 years old, she'd bring me up on stage and I'd sing a song with her, and I'd have my hat out and get tips, sing on tables and things like that at local pubs and bars and festivals. And then that just kind of became a part of me, and it just become a lifestyle. From horseback riding to going off roading into jeep to throwing hay at my buddy's farm, like all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of like a way of life. And country music, I love country music. I love all types of music. I love everything from country to rock to even EDM.
Hmm.
Um, but country music I find always has a good storyline. Dance music, it's all about the beat. A lot of times the lyrics don't really matter. They repeat the same lines 7 times, and then it's about a big drop and the energy of the song, and that's really cool as well. But country music is always about a story, and that really hits home with me because I excuse me, I think that music should have a good storyline to it, like Queen of the Barstool Rodeo. It's like it's an actual story of, guys trying to pick up the bartender, and we see it all the time. And I'm sure you've been to the bar and you see all the guys flirting with the bartender. You see it all the time, especially when you work in the industry. And it's just cool to add a little story to that and turn it into a song. And then a lot of country music is about love songs and breakups and just life stories and life lessons that are put into music, right?
Mhm. All right. Yeah. Do you remember the song that you performed when you were 5 and that was your first time on stage?
Um, it was Dutch music, so it's
Uh,
like, yeah, I played a lot of Dutch music when I was a kid. I didn't speak English.
mhm,
I moved to Canada when I was 13.
mhm,
My mother was Canadian. She wanted to move back to Canada, and she's like, "Hey, do you want to go?" And I thought, you know what? I've been here a few times, on vacation. During the summer, of course, like nobody told me about the winters being minus 40 or minus 30. But yeah, I grew up singing Dutch music and just all the kind of like the Dutch hits that were popular on the radio at the time, and um, playing big events, sometimes 10, 20,000 people. And I was, 10 years old. So very, very cool. Then relocated to Canada when I was 13, and I started doing like Elvis tribute shows and, at senior homes and stuff
mhm.
like that. And um, then that just kind of led back to the roots of country music.
All right. Yeah. So, how did your mom, a Canadian, found herself in the Netherlands?
My grandmother was Dutch, and she moved back with the kids to Holland.
Uh-huh.
When times were hard in Canada, they she moved back for family support, and took her daughters with her back to back to Holland, and that's how my mom ended up back in Holland. And of course, she met my dad, and I was born there, and we've been kind of going back and forth every time. So now I don't know if I need to move back to the Netherlands. Maybe I'll be a little closer to where you are in Hungary, right? Which should
Wonderful. Yeah.
be kind of cool.
All
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Let's look forward to it. Yeah. So that would mean Dutch would be your first language, right?
Dutch is my first language, yeah, and then English definitely my second language, and then
Hmm.
a little bit of German and a little bit of Afrikaans and even a
Wow.
little bit of Tagalog and just a little bit of everything. But yeah, my main language is Dutch and English.
Hmm. So I'm guessing you still speak Dutch quite fluently. So.
I do when I call my dad. My dad lives in Germany. He doesn't speak any English, so I have to speak Dutch to him, and of
Mhm.
course family back home. But in Canada, I don't ever speak Dutch. I only speak English here. Even when I talk to my mom, we always speak English. You know, that's how you become good at the language, right? Like when I first came to Canada, I had a crazy accent. I sounded like Gold Member kind of. Um, and now I don't really have much of an accent anymore, when I speak.
Hmm. So I'm guessing you went to school there too.
I went to school in the Netherlands, yeah, until the age of 13, and then I came to Canada. I went to elementary school for a year, and then I was in high school after that. And
Hmm.
got made fun of a lot when I had an accent, and bullied a lot as a kid. And my parents weren't very rich, so I kind of grew up in a pretty humble household, I would say. Not a lot of money. And I remember, as a kid, we had a trip going to Washington D.C.,
Mm.
to the capital of the U.S. essentially, and go check out the Smithsonian Museum and all
Oh.
these things. And I couldn't afford to go; like my parents couldn't afford to take me. So um, that's where the whole entrepreneur side of me kicked in. We had a competition in school that if you sold chocolate bars, whoever sold the most in the whole school got this trip paid for. And I sold 13 big boxes, like not small boxes, like big boxes with the little boxes in it. I sold 13 and a half boxes of chocolate bars and minus 40 outside of a grocery store. And I was 13 years old. And, from there, I ended up doing in newspapers and then working in a grocery store and then working multiple jobs and clothing stores and things like that and fast food and kind of did everything. But that's really where the whole entrepreneurial mindset of perseverance came from. I just didn't want to lose. I didn't want to get made fun of for being, the broke kid or the kid with no money. And I just wanted to do whatever I could to make sure that I could go and not be left behind. And that just got really instilled in my mindset to never give up. Um, so now when it comes to anything, whether it's business, building a new nightclub or a new country venue, or um, music, anything like that. I just don't quit. I beat down doors. I email people. I call them. I hammer them. Hey, have you had a chance to listen to the song? Have you had a chance to download it for your radio station to put it in your music meeting? Have you had a chance to add it?
Mhm.
And just constant follow up, because the squeaky wheel gets to grease, right? You have to do what you have to do, and you got to do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do at the end of the day.
Of
So
course. Yeah. So, do you believe that in order to, I guess, be an effective player in the music industry, you have to be an entrepreneur as well?
I think so. I mean, there's a lot of talent in the music industry. Like, I don't have any doubt that there's a ton of talent. Um, the difference is a lot of talent has no idea how to market themselves,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, I see it in the industry all the time. You can have somebody who's not that great of a singer, but they could be a really good performer, and they could be really great at marketing themselves, and they'll go way further than somebody with a lot of talent that doesn't know how to market themselves. So I think coming from a background of marketing and a background of sales training and entrepreneurship and all that type of stuff, I think really helps me, because you know you got to be likable, right? If people don't
Hmm.
like you, they're not going to listen to you, they're not going to listen to your music. They think you have an ego, they're not going to listen to you, they think you're just yeah, a jerk or whatever. I think you got to stay humble. You always got to remember where you came from, and you just got to keep grinding, man. Like, you got to know that you got to be everywhere. The end of the day, it doesn't matter how many people you know. It matters how many people know you. And the only way that you can get to the point where a lot more people know you is just be everywhere. There's no such thing as overexposure. I follow a guy named Grant Cardone. I don't know if you've ever heard of Grant Cardone.
Tell me about it.
He's one of the top guys in real estate in the world. He's got like $5 billion in real estate. He puts on an event every year called 10X Growth Conference. I go to a lot of those. There's different, entrepreneurs, musicians, actors. I was there last year. Mark Wahlberg was there. Tom Brady was there. 1 year Donald Trump was there. There's just different people there all the time, whether you like them or not. Everybody has, experience in business and mindset and following your dreams, and everybody will speak a little different, and you might get something really good from one person and no value from somebody else, but then you might sit beside me and you get value from the opposite person, because you're at a different point in life. And I'm always learning things, from people like Grant Cardone, who's one of my mentors in business and mindset. And one of the things that he talks about in the book called 10x rule is that there's no such thing as overexposure. People go, "Oh, you're always posting on social media. You post so much, it gets annoying. You're losing followers." And it's like, yeah, but for every 10 followers I lose, I'm gaining 20 or 30, because I'm reaching way more people. And the people that aren't going to follow me because they see me too much, eventually they're going to back follow me when they want to. Or the people that don't follow you are either jealous of what you're doing, or they just think, hey, I'm seeing this guy too much, whatever. I need a break. That's fine. Eventually, they're going to come back around. And when they do come back around and you've made it a lot bigger than you were, they're going to go, oh, I remember when this guy started out. I used to watch him, and then I don't know what happened. He wasn't on my social media anymore. So there's no such thing as overexposure, because if there was such a thing as overexposure, Coca Cola and McDonald's would be out of business, because they're everywhere. Like, every street corner, there's a Coca-Cola vending machine or a convenience store or a restaurant that sells Coca-Cola products. If there was such a thing as overexposure, they wouldn't be in business. And then, almost every city in the world has a McDonald's, sometimes multiple, right? There was such a thing as overexposure, they wouldn't be in business. So, you know, you just got to hammer people 2, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, stories. You don't always have to make posts, but you got to do stories. You got to do engaging content. You got to show what it's like behind the scenes. What do you do day to day? Like, what does my day look like? My day looks like this is, me waking up, have to feed my newborn baby, and then maybe I go in the studio for a few hours, and then I go to the music venue and set up for a big concert in the evening, and then maybe I'm playing, or maybe some of my friends are playing that night. Like, what does your day to day look like? People don't care about People don't care about you bragging about what you do. People care about seeing results, and people care about your success in the sense that they love a good success story. If you come from nothing and you can hit it home and have a home run, that's great. But I have so many haters too, man. Like so many people go, "Oh, like you're just an overnight success and blah blah blah." I'm like, "You know what, man? Like it took me 32 years to become an overnight success." But people don't see what's happening behind the scenes. So like in my social media, I like to show the ins and outs behind the scenes because they think, oh, you just go record a song, you end up on the radio. It's not that simple, man. Like you got to do a lot of work behind the scenes to be able to get there. And I think, the difference between a good artist and a great artist is how they market themselves because the talent's often pretty much on par. It's just how do you market yourself? And if you don't know how to market yourself, you need to have a team of people behind you. I have a whole team of people behind me. It's not just me doing everything. Like for marketing, I've got a rep for radio that submits everything to radio that follows up for me. I follow up personally with the big radio stations as well, even the little ones, to see if I can do interviews or liners or anything that I can do to help to get my name out there, to give them content for on air, and then I got people that help me with social media, people that help me monitor stuff and go, hey, man, you shouldn't post that. Like, take that down. Like, I get people messaging me if I go a little too political or something like that sometimes. Um, you got to have people watching out for you. And then on top of that, you got to have the best of the best people behind you in the studio. You got to have good producer. I've got, I think, one of the best, if not the best producer in Canada for country music, Sean Moore. And I hire the best musicians to play on my records. And then when I play live, it's not the same musicians. Like the musicians that I use in Nashville are musicians that play on the record. And then my live musicians are also really top talented guys that tour around with all the big musicians in Canada. And I hire them on a show to show basis. The majority of my musicians are always going to be the same, but that sometimes I have a different fiddle player or a different instead of a fiddle, maybe I'll have a keyboard player that plays mandolin and banjo, but then on other shows I have a fiddle. So like when you come to see my show, it's always exciting and it's not always the same. When you go um when you go see a lot of bands play in a bar, especially country cover bands, that are playing a few originals, which the majority of the stuff we play is covers right now. I have four originals right now. Three of them are set to be released. We're writing another 4 to 8 this year and releasing those as well. But it's expensive, right? Like as a self-funded artist, it's a lot of money to put that out. Um, you gotta make sure you have a high energy show and be different from everybody else. So if everybody plays certain songs that every band plays, as a country band, what songs are they gonna play? Boots Good Boogie, Chicken Fried, Footloose, Fake ID, all those songs. Like I took them off my set list, and everybody's like, "You're crazy. Why aren't you playing the songs that everybody plays?" I said, "That's why I don't. I play different stuff that people know, but other people don't play." Like one of my sets, we start with Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, but I sing it in a country style, and we have a fiddle, and like then it goes into an upbeat Luke Combs song. So it's just like constantly building, building, building. Where if you're watching that show, you're like, oh, that was different, but that was really cool, and you remember that instead of just being like everybody else. And that's again where marketing sets you aside from being either the same as everybody or being different,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. So since you mentioned your newborn, congratulations.
Thank you. She's 4 weeks on Monday.
Hmm.
So
So mind telling us what her name is?
her name is Presley Nash.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so Presley, obviously after Elvis Presley,
Hmm.
big influence in my life, and Nash, which is short for Nashville.
Hmm.
So yeah, very country name,
Hmm.
very country name.
Yeah. Tell me more about how Elvis is an influence of your music.
I think when I was a kid growing up, it was just watching Elvis on TV. My mom would play it, my dad would play it, and my parents were split. So sometimes I'd be in my dad's house, sometimes I'd be in my mom's house. But Elvis was like a commonality. Both my parents loved Elvis, and I remember seeing the concerts on TV and just staring and staring at the TV. And not that I thought he was the greatest singer, because Elvis was pretty pitchy,
Hmm.
but he was, in my opinion, the greatest showman ever.
Yeah.
Um, he knew how to put on a show. He knew how to entertain a crowd. The cool suits and the presence and the charisma that he had, I thought was just so cool. You know, and I think again, it doesn't matter if you're the best singer or not, but you got to be a great showman. You know, look at Garth Brooks. He's a great showman. He used to fly over the audience on like a harness, like, and Elvis just had a massive band behind him. He had horns and trumpets and all this cool stuff behind him. The light show wasn't anything spectacular because, they didn't have LEDs and all that stuff back then, but it was still cool. But it was just, when you go watch that, I guarantee you, if you were in the room and Elvis would walk into the room and you didn't even know who he was, you would feel his energy and his presence just because of the guy that he was, right? And that, just like watching that as a kid, I was like that. And then, funny enough, my actual natural singing voice sounds almost identical to Elvis. When I have to sing country, like, I can go sing country and turn down, the vibrato and stuff like that I have. But if you look at my vocal range, the lowest note and the highest note is the exact same range as Elvis Presley, and my vibrato is the exact same. So, like, I actually have to make myself not sound like him. And I don't know if I naturally was born with that or just because I grew up with that music that's how I learned how to sing. I have no idea, but just any song that I typically sing naturally would sound like that. If I sing country, I have to dial back the Elvisness to sound more country, which is pretty interesting, to be quite honest.
Hmm. Yeah. So, being an entrepreneur, would you see yourself as either a manager of artists or a label boss?
Um, I did launch a label called Nashville North Records,
Oh.
and right now, I'm the first artist on that label. And the reason that an artist will create their own label is for multiple reasons. When you're creating a label in Canada, you can get funding from the government if it's Canadian recorded content. So my first few songs are all done in Nashville, so that doesn't qualify. But the music that's upcoming, that's going to be recorded in Canada, as a Canadian artist, you can get funding as an artist, but you can also get funding as a record label if you're producing Canadian content.
Hmm.
So you can essentially get two types of funding to help offset the cost of recording a song.
Yeah.
Because recording a song, in all reality, if you're using good musicians, a good producer, can be around $4,000 or $5,000 a song. And then you got to push it to radio, and then you got to market it, and then you need radio trackers, and you need all this stuff, and it can be $10,000, $15,000 per song that you release, right? So any type of funding that you can get is great from the government when it comes to the arts, the general arts and music. So that's why I set up a record label, and then once my music starts really really taking off, then I'll probably hire on a management team to manage other artists under my label and then help them with getting that funding as well, right? Because then we can go and help other artists grow. And it's all about featuring other artists on your songs to help them get recognition, and you getting featured on other songs. And one thing that I've noticed is the hip hop and rap industry is phenomenal at that,
Hmm.
right? They'll have like a really good rap artist, a rapper, and then they'll be like so and so featuring, and that's a new rapper. And then you're like, oh, I wonder who that is. And then next thing you know, that new rapper comes out
Yeah.
with their own album, and then they feature somebody else again. And those labels, they're really, really good at featuring other people. Country music is starting to see that quite a bit as well. We've got some Canadian artists here like Dean Brody. They're featuring the Rec Laws on a couple songs. Drake Milligan has done a song with the Rec Laws. So you got an American artist and a Canadian artist. We got a Canadian artist named Brett Kissel. Just did a song. He just did a song with an American artist. I'm trying to remember the name now, but yeah, there's just we're doing a lot of collaborations, and at the end of the day, collaboration is like the number one currency in anything right now. If you look at anything, whether you're a musician or whether you're a business owner or a YouTuber or anything like that, collaboration is the number one currency in any type of business. And what are we doing right now? We're collaborating. I'm on your
Yeah.
podcast, right? You have an artist on there from Canada, being me,
Mhm.
and I get featured on your podcast. So you're reaching out to some of my followers when I post this. People are going to go, "Hey, we're going to check out his other podcast." And maybe you'll get a few new viewers. And hopefully when people see me on your podcast, people go, "Hey, I'm going to check out Rudy Gunn on Spotify or Apple Music, and maybe I'll get a few followers and a couple fans out in Hungary and Budapest or wherever you are," right?
Yeah.
I just noticed I got a few like people listening on Spotify in Sweden now. I got added to a playlist in Sweden. No idea how, probably through social media, but I'd love to connect with them and do an interview with them to gain more of a following there. Because then, of course, we could set up a European tour, and then maybe I get to meet you in person as well, and a whole bunch of people out there. But then as well, just like you expand your network on both ends. You get to expand, I get to expand. Same with artists, man. Like if I go do a collaboration with, I don't know, Garth Brooks, for example, right? Then people are gonna go, okay, we love and respect Garth Brooks. Who's this guy? Let's go check him out. Um, Maybe once I'm a big name, hopefully we'll get to that point. It's gonna be a lot of work. Maybe then a junior that's new in the industry, just starting out, I put them on my song, and they go, "Who is this?" John Smith. Let's go check out John Smith. He's done a song with Rudy, right? And then they get a bigger following, and it's all about collaborating. And whether you do it in music or whether you do it on podcasts, I see YouTubers do it all the time. Jake Paul did it all the time with other people and other YouTubers, and a lot of them build a bigger following that way, right? It's about sharing your market and sharing your followers and sharing your fans.
Yeah. Agreed. And I wish you all the best with the label.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I think it's going to be a home run. It's going to take a long time to build up, but once it all gets going, I think it'll be a home run.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. So tell me about how you're influenced by music that is not of the country style, like non-country music.
um, I love rock music, dude. Like, love rock music. The greats like the Beatles, Queen, Metallica. Like, I love all that stuff. And the Beatles was the first boy band essentially out there, right? And a lot of people don't realize that, but they were the first boy band. They were pop, right?
Hmm.
British Invasion was pop music. So to take a lot of that influence, but just there's so much music that I think influences country music that all comes from, the same roots. If I listen to country music today, a lot of music today sounds very hip hoppy. If you listen to new Morgan Wallen stuff, you get those snap tracks. It's very hip hoppy. Morgan Wallen, to me, is almost like Eminem with a banjo, right? And some people are gonna hate when I say that, or they're not gonna like that. But in reality, that's how I see Morgan Wallen. He's the Eminem of country music because he does a lot of rapping inside the country music. If you listen to Luke Combs, Luke Combs is Nickelback with a banjo and a steel guitar, right? And people are like, what do you mean by that? He's nothing like Nickelback. Listen to the music, man. If you listen to a Nickelback song, Burn It to the Ground, and you listen to, a Luke Combs song, right? You're going to notice a couple things that are the same. You're going to hear very, very wide, big drums, right? You're going to hear distorted guitars, which is rock. The difference is there's now a banjo and a steel guitar to make it sound more country. And instead of a rock vocal, it's replaced with a country vocal. But the basis of the song is rock, right? A lot of country music came from Southern rock. Sweet Home Alabama. I consider that a country song.
Hmm.
But some people will disagree and say it's Southern rock. And it is Southern rock, but Southern rock and country is so close. If you listen to a lot of Elvis music, a lot of it came from gospel and rhythm and blues, right?
Yeah.
It all stems back to R&B, man. Like if you listen to the greats from way, way back, all that R&B influence, gospel influence, all became country music. Whether it went in the direction of bluegrass or whether it went in the direction of, country and western or country rock or bro country, everything kind of stems from the same thing originally. And I think it's so interesting to listen to different artists, listen to people like Nickelback, even though a lot of people don't like them, and then listen to Luke Combs and listen to the similarities, you know? Listen to Morgan Wallen and then listen to Eminem, right? And go, wow, like the beats are very, very similar, but you got a country vocal with a little bit of rap, and that's a new style of country music. Not particularly the style that I would ever create. I like more the 90s country sound, a hybrid between the 90s country sound and Luke Combs, the country rock crossover. I'm kind of in the middle of those two when it comes to my music. I would never do a rap, but for artists like Morgan Wallen, Hardy, that is a genre that works really, really well for them. And there's a big space for that as well. So, man, I give all those guys props on their success, man. Like, there's so many good artists out there that are doing different things within the realm of country music because there's so many layers to it. It's like an onion,
Hmm. Yeah. So would you recommend the music of Nickelback to anyone?
I would. I
Hmm.
think if you listen to Nickelback, um, Nickelback is actually, if you listen to 90s Nickelback or early 2000s, I always said Nickelback was a country band that plays power chords. If you listen to all the songs, if they were to play just regular chords, not power chords, and they dialed back a bit on the raspiness of the voice, it'd be country songs. How You Remind Me, country song, right? Um, Burn It to the Ground is rock, but then again, that sounds very much like Luke Combs today. A lot of people will still hate on Nickelback, and they're a Canadian band from Hannah, Alberta. Um, I was actually in Hannah, Alberta one day, and it's about 3,500 kilometers from where I live. I was out there one day, and there's a hockey arena and has a big like mural of Nickelback painted on the side because they're so proud. It's this little tiny town, right? That's kind of funny.
Hmm.
So I think I encourage people to listen to all different types of music. At the end of the day, you know, how are you gonna know what you like? And especially as an artist, like you should take influence from everything. My music has got a lot of influence from the 90s. So you're going to hear a lot of sounds similar to Alan Jackson, Brooks and Dunn. Um, and then on the rock side, you're going to hear a bit of like that Luke Combs type of sound, a little bit of the Nickelback type of sound, a little bit of Metallica maybe even in there. And then, some of my music, you're going to hear a little bit of like Elvis influence or Jerry Lee Lewis influence or, like I do a cover of Chasing Cars, which by Snow Patrol, but instead of doing a slow version, I do an upbeat rock and roll version, and it almost sounds like Johnny Be Good. It's got the guitar like at the beginning, and people look at it and go like, "Man, I wasn't expecting that, but that's cool." Because you're taking a song that's normally slow and a ballad and turning it into rock and roll and playing that at a country show. So I'm playing rock and roll with the country vocal to make it country, but it's really rockabilly. So again, that's another version of country music that we tap into during our live show. And we just want to keep our audience engaged and keep that high energy going.
Hmm. So on the topic of entrepreneurship, I find that some of my heroes who are entrepreneurs who are not musicians, people like I think Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, well, they have in
Yeah.
common the fact that they both work in the tech sector and they both make their fortunes off of that, but also the fact that they are outsiders. So I wonder
Right.
to what extent are they in your radar, and to what extent does being an outsider contributes to your qualities as
Um,
an entrepreneur.
I think most people that are big, big entrepreneurs are outsiders, you
Mhm.
know. Um, Elon Musk is a weird dude, but
Very.
he's super smart and people think he's crazy. And I think
Mhm.
anybody that is deemed crazy goes places. You
Yeah.
know, Look at the Wright brothers, man. Like, oh, we're gonna make this machine that can make us fly, and people are like, you guys are crazy. What are you talking about? You're gonna make a machine like, oh yeah, we're gonna like make this machine with wings, and we're gonna fly like a bird. And people are like, you guys are a bunch of Looney Tunes, man. Like, well, what's wrong with you? But guess what? They did it and created the first airplane, right? Henry Ford. People thought he was crazy. Oh, I'm gonna make a machine with wheels that you can, instead of having to walk everywhere or take a horse and buggy, we're gonna put a motor and make a motor, and we're gonna build this machine. And everybody's like, you're crazy. And Henry Ford never figured out how to build an engine. He hired people that were smarter than him. And when his engineer said, hey, we can't do this, we can't build this type of engine, I think it was a 10 cylinder, he's like, make it happen. And eventually they got an engineer that was like, hey, I figured it out. Took years, but all the other engineers said it can't be done. And he's like, I don't care about you saying it can be done. Just go and do it. Nobody's done it. We're going to be the first to do it. So figure it out. And eventually people do it. But it's not about necessarily being an outsider, man. Like, I think to an extent, you got to be an outsider and people got to think you're crazy for doing things and go, man, you're crazy. You'll never make it. I've heard that so many times. You'll never make it. You're crazy. You're just wasting your time. People will always tell you that. And the people that tell you that are the people that typically are the closest to you, your friends, your family. They'll tell you you'll never make it. You're wasting your time because their dreams are so small compared to what your dreams are that there's a little bit of jealousy that they don't really want you to accomplish it because they'll never accomplish that in their lives because they don't have the drive to do it. And secondly, like, I don't even know, man. Like, it's just, it's funny. They're doing it because they're trying to protect you from wasting your time and wasting your money and hurting yourself. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to your workability and your drive is just going to be so much stronger than theirs that they don't understand that the frequency that you operate on, you know, you just got to keep going and going and going and doing it. That's the difference. Like, I've had a lot of people tell me I would never make it. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't popular enough. I was the Dutch kid with the accent. I would never be able to, you know, get rid of the accent, which I just learned from movies to do different accents to get rid of my Dutch accent. And now I can do a bunch of accents. But, you know, it's like you just learn. You know, you're in Budapest and you have like perfect English. I wouldn't have thought, right? I
Yeah.
mean, are you originally from Budapest? Is that where you were born, or you moved
Um,
there when you?
I just moved here a few months ago, and I spent some
Okay.
time in Canada, so I suppose that
Oh, okay.
explains my English.
Where were you in Canada?
I think between the years 2017 to 2021, I did my undergraduate studies there.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Were you in Toronto then?
Close to Toronto, Peterborough.
Oh, okay. So you're in the heart of like where they speak Canadian or where they speak the most proper English in Canada, probably. The least amount of an accent, the
I
most
hope so.
articulate. So that's the good place to learn, right? I've lived in Western Canada where they talk a little bit more redneck. I've been to Northern Ontario where they talk a little bit more like that typical Canadian accent. You know, Montreal, you get more of a French influence. If you're up around Ottawa, Peterborough, Toronto, you're gonna get like the most articulate English that you're gonna learn. So, it's all about that. But at the end of the day, man, when it comes to yeah being an outsider, um, I think the greatest people in the world are outsiders, man. Bill Gates was a weird dude. He's still a weird dude. Donald Trump is a weird dude. You know, one of the best business people in the world. You may not like him as a president, you may not like his politics, but when it comes to business, he understands that, you know, you gotta sometimes take a loss on a business or bankrupt a business and offset that negative against another business to turn a profit and get rid of the stuff that's not making you money. And people go, oh, you know, like this guy, he bankrupted so many businesses. It's like, yeah, but there's a reason for that. And a lot of people don't look at the reason for that, right? To offset it against another business. So then they think he's crazy. Um, you know, whether you like that guy or not. I don't particularly like him, but I think he's a good businessman, right? Um, I think a lot of people are like that. Not a lot of people like Bill Gates. Other people do like Bill Gates. A lot of people think Elon Musk is super weird and outspoken, but a lot of people also like him, right? So it's not about liking you. I think if everybody likes you, you're probably doing something wrong, or you're not known. You're not out there enough. If you're out there enough and you're everywhere and you're constantly in people's faces in front of them, that overexposure, whereas, like I said, there's no such thing as too much exposure. If people don't dislike you, you're not doing enough. There's got to be somebody that's not going to like what you're doing if you're doing enough. I know for a fact there's going to be people that hate my music because not everybody's going to like 90s style country music in 2023 or 2024. And that's okay. Maybe they like EDM. That's totally fine. I don't care because there's going to be enough people that are going to like my music. And whether you like my music or not, I will respect you the exact same way because everybody has their right to their own opinion and everybody has the right to like what they like and what they don't like. Doesn't make them any less of a person. I'm not going to like you any less if you do not like my music. But a lot of people will go and be keyboard warriors and this guy sucks and blah, 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 blah. But for every one person says somebody sucks, there's going to be 20 that go, no, man, he's awesome or she's awesome.
Mhm.
So just got to do more.
I think one of the qualities or patterns that I find in successful entrepreneurs, I think even people like Donald Trump, I think, is that they balance between, well, ambition, as in, well, they would gladly sacrifice a few good nights' sleep in order to realize their dreams, and also humility. It's the knowledge that there are people who do things better than them, smarter,
Right.
better singers, more and more skilled at what they want to achieve, and they have the humility to admit that and to in some ways defer to those who are more talented. So, what can you say about finding this balance?
Yeah, man. Like, I think you got to be able to sacrifice sleep. If you know that there's something bigger on the other side, then you got to go do it. Everything that you want in life is on the other side of your comfort zone. If you think about it, right? If you go, you know, I really would like a six pack, but I don't want to go to the gym. Well, then that's out of your comfort zone, right? I want to have a successful business, but I don't want to make that extra phone call, right? If you get out of that comfort zone, your comfort zone is right here, right? It's like if you have anything that goes, I don't feel like it. I wish I had this, but I don't feel like going to the gym. I don't feel like making that extra phone call. I don't feel like staying up an extra 2 hours. I don't feel like being up in the middle of the night to write a song that came to my head. I don't feel like driving 2 hours to do a songwriting session. I don't feel like eating healthy. I don't feel like going for a walk, right? Everything that you want in life is an I don't like is just out. Everything you want in life is just outside of your comfort zone because if it was in your comfort zone, you'd already have it. So you got to get uncomfortable. You got to make those sacrifices and you just got to go do the work. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, man. Like that's just the way it is. Get uncomfortable. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing as a person.
Mhm. Yeah. I know that in Christianity, which is my faith, I there's this wonderful psalm that warns of the noonday devil, which is a very intriguing metaphor.
What
It's
is it? Sorry.
the noonday devil, so the devil that haunts you at noon. So when you
Yeah.
are the most tired and the most weary, and the noonday devil, according to the psalm, is the one that tempts you to to take a step back, so to speak, and not fulfilling your duties and obligations. And so, because you encounter noon every day, the temptations of the noonday devil is a daily occurrence.
It's true, man. Like when you're going till 3 in the morning, a lot of times, and a lot of people think, oh, as an artist, you only play like a 2 hour show. Well, you got to sound check, you got to set up, you got to tear down, you got to drive there, you got to practice, rehearse. We rent entire studios, big, recording spaces, big touring stages that we rehearse on. Actually, we rehearse in Toronto at a place called DC Studios. That you know, we have a full size concert stage in there that we rehearse on. So that way we can rehearse in the same way that we would do our show live on a big stage instead of being crammed in a little room where we don't get that energy and that feel and that flow. Um, Noonday Devil is definitely a thing, man. Like when you're up till 3 in the morning, it is easy at noon to go, man, I am in an energy low right now. I need to take a nap for 3 or 4 hours. Even if it's an hour nap, it ends up being 2 or 3, and I've done it. Take a nap at
Yeah.
3, you know. I get it usually around 3 o'clock. I get that like energy dip, and it's like chug a coffee, chug an energy drink, go jump up and down, get some oxygen going, and just keep going, man. Because if you let that noonday devil get to you, like it's gonna kill your momentum. Not necessarily kill your dreams, but it will definitely slow you down.
Mhm.
You got to keep going. And now, you know, I got a newborn, so baby wakes up every 3 hours. She's like crying in the background. I can hear her in the living room there. But yeah, every 3 hours you got to feed them right when they're little, and then you get home at 3 in the morning from a gig, and then the baby starts crying. You know, an hour later, right up when you fall asleep, and then you're like, but you just got to plow through and do the work and keep going, and you know, just is what it is, man. You got to suck it up and just keep doing the work. If you keep doing the work little by little, it's just going to keep compounding and the momentum is going to build and build. It's like when you're pumping a well, you know, you pump the water, nothing happens, nothing happens. Finally, the water comes to the top, it starts flowing. And I say it's liquid gold, man. It's flowing gold. But the second you stop pumping, all that water pressure goes back down. You got to start pumping again until you get the momentum back. You got to build it back up. It's like riding a bicycle, man. Like I see so many people in business, and I refer to business and like a bicycle in business, like a metaphor. Um, I see so many people in business. They go and go and go and go. They get their business going. They get their momentum. They get the bicycle going, right? But what happens when you stop pedaling a bicycle, right? Eventually, you're gonna start wobbling. You're gonna maybe lose your balance, and you're gonna fall over unless you start pedaling again, right? So it's no different in business. You're going to get your business going and you stop working, the business is going to start shaking and it's going to start falling apart and you fall over and you got to rebuild it all the way again. So you can't let the momentum kill you. The noonday devil, I love that saying now. Noonday devil definitely is going to kill your momentum if you let it, you know, subside to you.
Yeah, you're welcome to use it. It's not from me, it's from God. So,
I didn't even know that was a song, man. If you didn't tell me that was a song and you just said Noonday Devil, I would have wrote it into a song because that's
well,
freaking cool, man. That's brilliant.
technically, it's a psalm. So it's one of the prayers that can be put into songs. Yeah,
Oh, I thought you said it was a song.
yeah.
Man, I'm gonna make that a song. The Noonday Devil. Let me write it down, and then I'll send it to you. Noonday Devil.
I look
There
forward to
we
listening
go.
to it.
Yeah, I think that's I'm doing a songwriting session on Tuesday, so maybe we'll throw that out there and see what we can come up with.
Hmm. I'm glad to be
Right?
a source of inspiration.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. I think that's a great because I never heard a song that had that in there, and that's why I was like, "That's a song," but you meant psalm. So sometimes hard to hear when you go through, you know, a thing like Zoom or whatever to
Hmm.
do a recording.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that could make a great song because I think everybody has been, you know, the victim of that at some point,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
So, as a father, what values would you like to impart on your daughter, little Presley Nash?
Um, First and foremost, always staying true to yourself, integrity, always acting in the best interest of other people, not yourself, putting others first, um, being honest. I just think, you know, like being a good person, man. Like, if you would you want to hire yourself as a person, you know, down the road? That's one thing that I look at every day for myself is like, would I hire myself based on the work ethic? I want her to have a good work ethic, be honest with people, have integrity, just good values as a person. Be respectful of others, whatever they are, identify as, whatever. Be respectful of people because everybody has a story. And and people always say, "Oh, poor me, all these things happen to me." Everybody has a story, but you got to realize that, you know, you can be you can have empathy for people and their stories because man, in front of my nightclub, um on during the week, there's people that set up tables there and they hand out food and stuff to homeless people. And the reason they do it in front of our nightclub is because it's an old movie theater. It has a big overhang, so if it's snowing or raining, they're out of the elements. But every day I see probably 100 people lined up for free food and like tents and things like that. And I just think, some of the things that I want to instill in her is that no matter where you come from or who you are or what your background is or what the color of your skin is or what your beliefs are or whether you're a conservative or a liberal or whatever, just respect people and let people have the option to have their own opinions, respect them, and you know, just just love and respect. That's the biggest thing. Love and respect and have integrity. Always do the right thing. Don't do any sketchy things. Don't ever take a shortcut in life or in business. Um, just do the right thing.
Wonderful. So, on a concluding note, what does music mean to you?
Music is life. The rest is just details, my friend. That's
All
it.
right.
That's it.
Yeah. On that wonderful note, thank you very
I
much,
think
Rudy Gunn,
I
for
think
joining the show.
thank you so much, man.